I got this great comment on my last video by Disenchanted with Society. Great username, by the way. So they're asking me what I think about K-pop, um, based on my unique perspective. So to explain, I am American in nationality, but my mother is Korean. I spent 4 years in Korea as a baby after being born in America. And then I moved back to America and moved back to Korea and spent my entire 20s here in Korea. And now I'm 31. So, what do I think about K pop? I have a lot of thoughts about K pop. Because of this comment, I realized I've never talked about this on my YouTube channel. It's something that is important to me because I am a musician as well. You can see I make music on my channel. And K pop really changed a lot for Korean people, for Korean Americans, for Asian people all around the world. So these kind of videos, I'm just kind of talking about what's in my head. So it might be disorganized, but let's get into it. What do I think about how Westerners view K-pop? That's what the comment was asking. Well, what you have to understand, this word K-pop, right? Korean pop, Korean popular music. It's really interesting right off the bat, that label K-pop, but we don't say US pop, we don't say American pop, we don't say UK pop, but we say K-pop and J-pop, Korean pop, Japanese pop. Even by that label, it's like it's distinguishing things based on nationality or race, right? And yet there's no prefix for Western pop, white people pop. Not necessarily just white people, but that's kind of the dominant understanding, that the default is Western music, right? And that goes to show, like, music is a cultural export. It is something that people use to imprint cultural messaging onto the world. When I've traveled to Southeast Asia, like Thailand or the Philippines, I've seen so many amazing musicians just at random bars on the street. There's this kind of funny stereotype about Filipino people that they're all amazing singers. Now, I don't think that's necessarily true, but it's more true that karaoke is more encouraged there, so more people have a chance to develop their singing abilities, right? So that's the thing, though. There's amazing musicians everywhere in the world. There are amazing musicians, but by far and large, the dominant musical culture is America and England. Yes, there are others, but those are the dominant, especially American. And now we see that K-pop, within really the last 5-ish years, maybe a little longer, has exploded and become recognized on a global stage. Now you have a lot of, I've seen it so much, especially with white men, that they'll be like, I hate K-pop. I hate them. Look at these sissy Nancy boys in K-pop. And what I've come to realize is that the dominant narrative in Western culture has been that Asian men are nerdy, weak, strange, foreign, small penis, undesirable, or kung fu master, asexual type men. It was laughable to see Asian men as sexually attractive, and thus sexual dominance was established by white men in America, and many other parts of the world. And the rise of K-pop, and it's really bizarre growing up in America as an Asian man and being hit with all these stereotypes, and then seeing the explosion of popularity and seeing that a lot of young girls and even older women are suddenly fawning and foaming at the mouths for these men. And it's not just K-pop; it's called Hallyu, the Hallyu wave. So Hollywood, but Hallyu, like Hanguk. It's the Korean word for Korea, and it's kind of a mixing of these words and saying like the Hollywood wave, Hallyu wave. So it's Korean culture is suddenly being exported. Now, there's a lot of reasons that Korean culture is being promoted by Western civilization right now. Now, we're going to really like, it has to do with geopolitics. It's never so simple. We've already established that there's amazing musicians everywhere. There's high production, high quality music everywhere as well. Now, we can make the argument that Korean production is very, very tight. Yes, that is true. Like, you know that the K-pop industry is an industry. They have trainees from a very early age that you have, like, let's say 10,000 kids who are training to be idols, K-pop idols, boy band, girl bands, whatever, and they're in intense training. Their lives are heavily controlled, and a small, like less than 1% of them ever reach any domestic fame in Korea, and then international fame is like very, very limited. It's highly competitive. It's highly oppressive, but there's this understanding that there's value to being recognized as an idol within Korea and internationally. And here in Korea, advertisements everywhere on TV, billboards, magazines, on radios, everywhere. K-pop idols, even smaller groups that aren't known, and then bigger groups, they're used as advertisers. So you have to understand first, idols and celebrities are commodities. They're used as products in of themselves to promote ideas and products. Ideas in the sense that you can endorse people, you can endorse products. And thus you can attract people because you have power in being an entertainer. The advertisers push you, they promote your image, and you in turn promote whatever is giving you money. So yes, it is an extremely oppressive industry for the individuals involved in it, but they have immense power in of themselves. Now, from a geopolitical perspective, we're getting back into why Korea, why South Korea in particular. Because you can take this model of promotion and musical talent and entertainment, you can take that really anywhere. But we're not seeing Chinese pop being popular in America. We're not seeing Russian pop. We're not seeing South American boy bands. We're not seeing... Okay, anyway, you get the point. And the reason for this is, yes, there is an element of, there is like a cookie cutter industrial pushing of K-pop, but K-pop as music is very diverse. You have to understand that. Even BTS, the most famous K-pop group in the world, you listen to their first album versus what they have now. You listen to songs like Tear versus songs like Butter. Incredibly different. So, one, people who say, I hate K-pop, like, you don't even fucking understand what it is. It's simply a term to label Korean popular music. And Korean popular music, hey, guess what? When I was a kid, I listened to a lot of popular Korean songs. It was totally different than what it is now. And there are so many groups. Like, there was this old Norwegian guy. I was showing him some K-pop, and he was like, "Oh, I'm not really a fan of this and your country's music." And I was like, "My country's music?" Like, I actually don't even listen to a lot of pop music in general. Like, I try to familiarize myself with it. As a musician, I see value in knowing about different genres. But overall, I listen to genres like Korean city pop, which is totally different, or what's known as like a lot of indie bands, a lot of Korean heavy metal, Korean punk, or hard rap. Like, there's to say like K-pop is Korea's music is wildly inaccurate. And any country you go to, like, there may be a cultural dominant type of music, but you're going to dig and you're going to see, especially we live in a globalized culture these days. People are exposed to different. You go to Bangkok, you can see heavy metal, you can see rap, you can see pop. You go to the Philippines, same shit. Like, so, I'm kind of rambling, but back to why Korea? Why K-pop? Why is it being promoted? South Korea is essentially a vassal state for the USA. South Korea, I've talked about this a lot in previous videos. So South Korea is very, very important in geopolitics. It's kind of like Israel. It's one of the earlier countries where proxy wars were being waged between large powers, the USSR, China, the USA. They push these ideological boundaries. They call it communism versus democracy. Really, there's no pure communism, no pure capitalism, no pure democracy. Like, America says we're a democracy. We're really a corporatocratic plutocracy that props up an oligarchical class. Oh, and it's also based on a racial caste system. But Korea is very tactically advantageous for the USA. So the largest overseas military base, overseas American military base, is actually in South Korea, in Pyeongtaek, Camp Humphreys. And the USA has a vested interest into protecting South Korea, into aiding it in exporting its culture, in aiding it in being a powerful nation, not just for the strategic advantage of, having a foothold in the Asian peninsula that is Korea, but also South Korea has, what do you call it, brain export. They push education and they are sympathetic to American politics, and supercomputer chip manufacturing. Most of it is done in Korea as well. Munitions, weapons of war are manufactured in Korea. So Korea is one of the USA's most staunch allies, diametrically opposed to North Korea, which is allied with Russia and China. And it's really fucking tragic that the whole reason that I exist because of this. My father was a US soldier. I am a product of this proxy war. And it's sad that Korea is divided. North Korea is Korea. South Korea is Korea. But for the last 100 years, we've been artificially divided, cut in half, because of these proxy wars between dominant nations. And yes, there's a lot of divided opinions about this. Some South Koreans, actually, I would say the majority, see U.S. protection as a good thing. And myself included, because unfortunately, South Korea, we are a small country. And yes, we do have a powerful military. But by pure numbers, the US has the strongest military in the world. So, like, yes, it is incredibly um, advantageous to be a vassal state for the US. So, you come to Korea, you see so many signs in English. They bring over white people from white countries, and yeah, other races too, but mainly white. And they have them, they're not really qualified, but they have them teach English to children because South Korea sees it as so important to be integrated into the global economic system of power. So even BTS, they released their song Butter entirely in English. Why would they do that? Because they know that giving themselves to Western audiences is useful. Now, that comment specifically asked me, like, do I see it as bad in viewing K-pop through a Western lens? And my assertion is that K-pop is a Western product, really. It is a Korean product, but it is also a Western product. Because, like, there was this experiment where they tried to take white guys and they made them idols here in Korea. And it didn't work because I was talking to one of my Korean friends about this, and he was like, look at them, they're fucking ugly. Like, yeah, you can take white guys and make them idols, but not these fucking guys. And so it's interesting. Lisa in Blackpink, she's Thai. There's a group with black girls, so it's not necessarily like, I do think it's easier to push women or men from Asian countries and make them idols, but Korean people are open to idols being of different races, because that cookie cutter format we talked about is really not really Korean in of itself. And in that documentary about the white guys trying to be idols, the woman who was backing them talked about this. Like, yes, there are a lot of, in the imagery and the music, there are influences, of course, of Korean culture. Let's say the lyrics, the language, but also, like, in the music, there's VIX, I think, VIX, the group VIX, VIXX. They use a lot of traditional Korean imagery in their music videos, some Korean musical instruments and sounds. I know there's a group that actually uses, like, the Ujo scale, different, anyway. But by far and large, the production, the instrumentation, the pop sensibilities, it is all derived from Western influences. Like, pretty much the last 20 years of, like, think about RM in BTS. His name, RM, the one who speaks English the best. His name is literally Rap Monster. And a lot of it is, like, they rap. They use R&B influences. They use anyway, you get the point of what I'm saying. We're at this point where to say, like, to try to clearly cut lines between different cultures, there's no point to it anymore. And I see people who try to do this as pretty foolish and xenophobic. Like, I've met Korean people like that who want to keep Korea for Koreans, and if they do that in America, go back to America. And then, of course, you're in America, and they're like, if they do that in Asia, you look Asian, go back to where you came from, go back to your country, right? I see this as counterproductive to the ultimate goal of humanity, which is to unite. We should be one country, one culture, one people, one race. And I don't think it should be American or English or Korean or whatever. I think it should be something new and something better, something easier for people to unite under. So the language we're speaking now, like maybe one day we'll have a easier language to communicate in where we'll be like, oh, 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 oh. And that's a full sentence and anyone can understand that. Or maybe everyone will have, I don't know. I don't know. But my point, K-pop. When I see white dudes who hate on K-pop for or who hate it at all, because anyone who is open to music will be like, okay, maybe like this artist catalog is not for me, but maybe there is like more that could, they recognize it's a diverse and expansive genre, and maybe they're more into like jazz or heavy metal, and there's not a lot that they've been able to find, but they'll be open to like different types of Korean music. So I knew this white guy who, I hate K-pop, blah blah blah, and who would see Korean rappers and be like, look at these fake motherfuckers, blah blah blah. This stems from gatekeeping, xenophobia, racism, misogyny, as well as it's so funny. On Reddit, I was just on Reddit one day, and there was a thread about K-pop, and this guy was commenting like, they all look like sissy gay boys, blah blah blah. And this other comment was like, what's wrong with you? Why are you saying things like this, being so hateful? And I commented like, oh, it's obvious it's some white guy who's like feels possessive over Asian women and wants to promote negative stereotypes about Asian men. And then this person who I commented towards commented at me and was like, oh my God, you're right. I looked at their profile and it's shocking. I didn't even look at this guy's profile. So when I clicked into the profile of the guy who was bashing K-pop idols, there were so many posts about, why do people call me racist for liking Asian women when I just like their face and I only date Asian women because I like their face? It was obvious they were fetishizing Asian women, and maybe they didn't even consciously know they were doing it, but they feel threatened by K-pop because it shows that Asian men are desirable, that there's many desirable Asian men. So the images we were presented with, and I talked about this with my video, Modern Day Minstrelsy, and how only my last two videos, The Joy Luck Club and Modern Day Minstrelsy, the images of Asian men being undesirable was pushed. And like, I actually saw this recently where somebody sent me a video of a black woman and a white woman on top of each other. Like the pictures were on top of each other, and it showed their side profile like this. And then next to them, it showed like the black woman with white skin, and then the white woman with blacks, or I'm sorry, no. They showed the black woman, right? And then they photoshopped the face of the black woman to look more like the white woman's, same skin color. And then they photoshopped the white woman to look more like the black woman, just in face shape. And they said, see, it's not just skin color. Because the photo that they chose of the black woman, right? Her hair was pulled back like this. Her jaw was coming out, right? Like this. And then the white woman, they chose someone with a very small nose, small head, jaw in. And then when they photoshopped it, of course it looked strange, because suddenly the white woman's going like this. And then, so the idea is that like, oh, look, like there's this inherent difference between the races. Now, the photos they chose were very specific, right? They chose a black woman with features like that, and her hair was pulled back in a way to make her head look more elongated, bigger. And they chose a white woman with very, model-like features, small nose, small chin. Now, this is the insidious nature of racism. That you take one example and you conflate it to the entirety of a group. Now, do you think all Asian men look like I do? No, they don't. Yeah, we may have some similar phenotypical characteristics, like monolid eyes that are slanted more. But there's a very funny thing I like. It's celebrity lookalikes of different races. So they'll have like the black Matt Damon, the Indian Donald Trump, and it just goes to show you have lookalikes of different races. And I talked about this in a previous video. I went to see a Japanese metal band out here, and I swear the drummer looked Latino as fuck. He looked Mexican. Like he looked like so many Mexican guys I had seen, but he was pure Japanese. Like he even had brown skin, the little mustache. Like he was Japanese. So this idea, like, it's so stupid. Like, I really find it funny. This subreddit called Behold the Master Race. And it's like white supremacists and how fucking ugly they are. I'm sure there's hot white supremacists, but like these people, they take the best examples from their group and they say, oh, we must all be like that. And that's the stupidest thing about. So I was talking to, oh, maybe he'll see this. This guy was commenting. He left like 10 comments. I blocked him from the YouTube channel, but he left like 10 comments on my last couple videos saying like white men are better than Asian guys and like pretty much every stereotype you can think of. And yeah, I was talking with my my partner about this, and I said to her, like, well, she was like, oh yeah, he's wrong, blah blah blah, and I said to her, like, yeah, it's probably a very insecure white guy, maybe not a white guy, but it seemed like he had Viking in his name and was talking about how great white guys are. Probably very insecure and has nothing going for him, so latches onto the idea that race makes him superior. And that's what I've realized about racial supremacists. Like, it's based on dominance and power as well as insecurity, because you don't feel powerful. So you latch onto something that nobody can change about themselves. Like, okay, if you don't like if you are not sexually attracted to someone for being fat, right? That's something people can change. But race, you can't change race. You're born with it. So, yeah, anyway, okay. I think overall, it has been shocking to me growing up in America, being hit with all these stereotypes, and then seeing this shift in public perception where suddenly people are interested in Korean culture. And I've met Asian men who say, well, I don't want to be fetishized. I don't want to be fetishized. And now because of K-pop, so many girls only want me because they want an oppa. They want their Korean guy. So yeah, I do understand that perspective. You want to be seen as human, as an individual. Yes. You don't want to be seen as just another Asian guy to satisfy this weeaboo, Koreaboo fetish, right? But at the same time, I'm like, okay. Like, Key and Peele have this great skit about it, where these black guys are like next to these white women who are saying all these horrible stereotypes about black dudes, but at the same time, they seem sexually interested. So these black guys are like getting mad on one moment, but then they're like, oh, sex one moment. So if we're being honest, a lot of Asian men will leverage this rise in popularity to their sexual advantage. Not an emotional advantage, just a purely sexual advantage, right? I don't think that that's right, and that should be the goal. I do see it as like a positive in the sense that it's combating negative stereotypes. Like, if I'm going to have to choose, which stereotype do I want, right? Do I want the one that has been used to demean, subjugate, and there was a mosquito. I was getting ready to kill it. Am I going to choose the one that's been I've had to deal with my whole life? You know, Ken Jeong, Bobby Lee, these kind of guys being conflated with them, or the stereotype of, being seen as sexy, desirable, whatever, right? Obviously, I don't want either. I want to be um, judged on the merit of my own individuality. But if I'm going to choose like which stereotype is being promoted in a culture, of course I'm going to choose the one that at least is like complimentary of positive. There are no positive stereotypes, but I see it as stereotypes that are not as humiliating, right? There's something else I wanted to say. Oh, right. So I've met. So I had a friends with benefits, a European white girl, about 5 years ago, and it's so strange. Like, there's this term I've seen on Asian masculinity subreddits called banana rings, where they describe like Asian American women who only fuck white guys like their whole dating life, but then they end up marrying an Asian guy. And that's like this stereotype of, you know, settling for what's safe while having fun with what they see as more desirable. So I've met girls here in Korea who are white girls who only fuck Asian guys, and then this friends with benefit I had, she returned to her own country and then married a white guy, or I don't even know if they're married, but they had a child together, and they're together. So I find it interesting that that's happening. And I've met so many. And that friends with benefits, she told me that since she was young, she was watching K-pop videos and new Korean music, and it was shocking to me because I was like, with the internet now, you have people who are like that, and I, growing up, that wasn't. So the internet was around when I was a kid, but it wasn't like it was today. It was different. YouTube wasn't around either until I was like a preteen, I think. I'm 31. People say I look younger, but I am 31. So then I had a mixed race, black and white friend who is a little older than me, but she looks white. She's married to a white guy, and it's very interesting. Like, she said that she was first really into anime, and there's a lot of people. So first of all, she's very into K-pop, very, as in she's part of a group where they draw K-pop idols sexually, erotic drawings of K-pop idols, and she knows way more about K-pop than I do. So she told me that there's kind of a pipeline. A lot of girls are into anime, and then they discover like J-pop, and then they discover K-pop and K-dramas. So something to think about. It's like this exposure to Asian culture, East Asian culture through anime, and then becoming more interested in it, and then leading to. So she's told me it bothers her that a lot of idols are not humanized. They're seen as it's very strange. Like, and it's not just K-pop. It's a lot of celebrity culture around the world, but it's heightened in K-pop because like they're not even allowed to date. Even I wouldn't call her a friend, but an acquaintance. She's mixed race, Korean and white, but she's a very small time K-pop idol rapper, and she's not even allowed to date in her contract. Like, I don't know if she really does or not, but to everyone, she says, no, I'm not allowed to date. I don't date. She might keep it on the down low, but yeah, she's not even famous or wealthy. And it's all to keep this image that, they are for their audience, to keep the fantasy that they are, available, that their audience has some kind of possession over them. And it's crazy. Like, when Corona was really going on, it wasn't even against the rules to go party in Itaewon, but some members of BTS were at a bar there, and maybe it wasn't even BTS, but they had to apologize publicly because it was around the time when the curfews and the things were happening, so it was controversial. So it's like, damn, like their lives are so heavily controlled. Anyway, I think I've said everything. I know whenever I talk, these kind of talking videos, I'm just like kind of rambling and whatever. I'm not like, I've wrote some essays that I want to make more organized, but these Timmy talks are more just me talking. And I hope disenchanted with society, I hope maybe I've shed some light on your questions. And yeah, it is really interesting. And I'll be honest, whenever I see Korean content on social media, I usually, unless it's like really blatantly making us seem bad, I upvote it, I like it, I try to share it, because I am proud of being Korean. I try to promote Korean culture wherever, because yes, I am biased, I am of Korean descent, but at the same time, I see value in people promoting their cultures, and on a global stage, learning more about one another is a beautiful thing. And I know there's a lot of people, appropriation, blah blah blah. Appropriation is like, you can read a lot on Wikipedia about it. Appropriation is taking aspects of a subjugated culture and diluting it to a mockery of what it once was. Like the Indian headrests that people wear as a costume, or the Cinco de Mayo sombrero, whatever stuff, or the there's more examples. You can just Wikipedia cultural appropriation. This is markedly different from, like in music, using a sitar in a song, or taking aspects of R&B and emulating it, or like Wu-Tang Clan, their whole thing, Wu-Tang, Shaolin, I don't see that as appropriation. That's influence, that's sharing. So yeah, K-pop. Overall, what do I think of it? I enjoy, when I first came out here in Korea, there was this music I kept shazamming. I was like, damn, this is so good. And then I looked at it and I was like, Twice, what is that? Twice. And I looked them up. It's a K-pop girl group, and I love them. I love Twice. Cheer up, baby. I love Twice. And BTS has some great songs. Not so familiar with a lot of groups. VIX has some good songs. Like I said, I mainly listen to, I guess, indie, rock, rap, Korean city pop. I can tell you a lot about, there's Uju, there's Uhyo, two of my favorite artists. I like Busker, I like Jannabi, I like so many, Tasot, yeah, so many. I love so much music. So, Hope this was good for you. I'm going to stop the video before 40 minutes, so things to think about.